Test footage. Let me show you some footage examples at various resolutions and frame rates. This chart shows my favorite resolutions to shoot in. Generally, you want to shoot in the highest resolution possible. However, not all frame rates are available in each resolution. So if you want to record a high frame rate slow motion shot, for example, you may need to shoot at a lower resolution to achieve it. Let's look at some test footage. Here's a 5K 24 frames per second example, scaled down to 4K. 4K is the resolution that this entire video is in. Here's a 5K 30 frames per second example, also scaled down to 4K. Here's a 4K 60 frames per second example. Here's a 4K 60 frames per second example in slow motion. Here's a 2.7K 120 frames per second slow motion example, scaled up to 4K. Here's a 1080 240 frames per second slow motion example, also scaled up to 4K. Here's a 4K 60 frames per second slow motion example going into water. HyperSmooth examples. Here's a shot with no HyperSmooth. You can see it's not very steady. Here's a shot with HyperSmooth 3.0 on. It's certainly better. And finally, here's a shot with HyperSmooth Boost, the strongest stabilization setting. It's pretty impressive in my opinion. Standard saves your photos as standard JPEG files. JPEGs don't take up a lot of space and they are easy to share, but the look of the photo is baked in for the most part. HDR takes and combines multiple photos in a single shot and brings out the details in both the bright and dark areas of the image. Use this setting if you like that look. Good for shots with extreme lighting. SUPERPHOTO analyzes the scene and intelligently applies the best image processing for the shot. This is a good setting to use if you want GoPro to do the thinking for you. The drawback is that it may take longer for the camera to process each shot. My favorite output setting is RAW. RAW saves each photo as a JPEG and a .gpr GoPro RAW file, which gives you the ability to tweak an image in a program like Adobe Photoshop. If you don't want to edit your photos after you take them, don't use RAW. But if you are familiar with an app that can take advantage of RAW, shoot in RAW, and you will have a lot of control over your picture. You can tweak settings later on your computer like exposure, color balance, sharpening, noise reduction, and a whole lot more. RAW is very powerful if you know how to use it. I must say, I'm pretty impressed with the footage coming out of this GoPro. Here's a tip. The sensor on the GoPro is pretty small, so to get the best out of your camera, shoot in a lot of light. Darker images sometimes become noisy. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.